Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Dakota, and here we explore a variety of topics. We express, we feel the feelings, we unpack things, we channel, we meditate, we activate, and all manner of growth, sharing, and understanding. And today we are also doing a little drawing because, as some of you may or may not know, I'm also an artist. And I thought it was about time to actually unpack the dark feminine and the dark feminine expression. Just this topic actually makes me feel completely enraged because if there is one thing, in my opinion, that the world does not understand and doesn't like, it's femininity. You know, we're kind of told to be feminine as if it's easy and we can just snap our fingers and become that, as if the soft feminine life does not depend on a community, on a man or other things, and everything becoming harsher and harsher, the world becoming harder and harder, and thus more and more dark females being born, if you will. So, we're told to be feminine and soft, and we're expected to carve a place for ourselves, which requires competitiveness and harshness. And when we do that, we are also being guilted and shamed. I didn't like how polarizing and political the Barbie movie was, but for the piece of propaganda that it was, the speech that mom character made at the end of the movie had a lot of truth in it. Because no matter what we are, how we are, for the entire history of women, we've been accessories and tools of status. We have learned to pretty much work in the shadows. We have learned to manipulate, play, silently coerce, and use our sexual powers to get what we want. And all the women are basically realizing that they cannot win, that no matter what they do, it won't be enough. And so it's only natural we have entered the era of breaking free from all these old norms, redefining and re-owning a lot of parts and sides of ourselves, that we were forced to push away for the sake of our own survival, basically. So cue the rise of women who are tired of all of this. And cue the rise of this social trend that we call dark feminine, that women flocked to in flocks, pretty much. So let's unpack this. Dark feminine in its toxic form is not a new phenomenon. Women have learned to stay safe by manipulating, disconnecting, influencing others and their children into the versions that would not harm them for hundreds of years. Is a mix of different interpretations that suit each individual woman's needs, and especially, I love that one, past hurts, because it sure isn't joy and happiness that pushes us to research dark feminine. So the way I see dark feminine is just women's fight for freedom to express and be how they are in their full, unfiltered, raw, visceral, corporeal, wild, and dirty forms. Dark feminine is women owning themselves and their experiences. Now, what form it takes is dependent on each woman. Just like a masculine man can be a dictator or like a generous, gorgeous knight in shining armor who, has honor and takes care of his community. Expression of femininity can also fall into different sides of the spectrum, basically beneficial side and poisonous side. And I feel like both men and women are at the stage now where they're fighting for expression and ownership of everything that made them dirty. Because throughout history, it's also where women who were pressured more to be pure, to not express or show anything related to our humanness or vulnerability or our fleshiness. We were pretty much groomed to be statues for the men to idolize. Oh, that makes me mad. Things were done pretty much in the name of us, not for us. And we were an excuse and a way to start wars, to garner riches. We were like an extension of whatever action male ego wanted to justify taking. And as women, we crave this freedom, we crave this freedom of like screaming at the top of our lungs and, not being fucking called crazy. We yearn to kind of dance naked around the fire. And oh my God, I love that actually. I love dancing naked around the fire with my girlfriends. We would gather and we would just dance around the fire and be wild and scream. And it is absolutely amazing. And we aim pretty much, to reclaim our period and our blood that keeps the world alive. And we yearn to be understood for our emotions and for people to fully embrace us with all our tears and snot and blood pretty much dripping down our legs. And we want to own and feel our flesh and not be afraid of our bodies. But at the same time, we want not to be feared. Like a storm, we yearn to be revered, respected, and understood in order to benefit from the power of the cleansing rain we wash the world with. But instead, what do we have? We are raised with the idea of hiding, with the idea of curating ourselves to a goddamn T. We are raised with the fear and are encouraged to pick ourselves apart and only put together the image of ourselves that will not get us negative reactions or get us in trouble. And that's me not even getting into another layer of this, which is social media, where we not only chop ourselves up and show this perfected Frankenstein to our closest people, but we go a step further and we live for the approval of this cutout of our true selves on social media. Ugh, disgusting. Sad and disgusting. We are so much better and worth so much more. And there's a reason, why those likes give such a huge dose of dopamine, because it's like spraying milk on your pepper sprayed eyes rather than dunking your head in milk, you know what I'm saying? It's basically nothing but crumbs to this deeply hidden totality that exists inside you. And of course it's going to be addicting when the approval we're chasing barely touches our true selves that have been hidden and ostracized from our awareness from a very young age. And honestly, sometimes it blows my mind as to how vile, fake, and cutthroat women sometimes are and have been trained to be. And take, trad wives trend, for example. It's like, my God. Have you seen the fucking comments under those TikToks? The hatred, the rancidity, Rancidity, is that even a word? Rancidness, acidity, acidness, outpouring of vileness. I'm happy at least we have a safe space to hate. But what blows my mind even more than the hate itself? Mind you, I consider myself quite a hateful person. I can hate, and I hate with passion. And I don't feel like me, making meditation videos and the ability to still have a lot of hate is mutually exclusive. But I can also love, and also love with passion. Now that I find really freeing. What gets me is how we hide it, how we fake it. I've encountered women in my life who were triggered by me or by something else, and I was just like, just bloody hate, just Jesus Christ, just tell me you're so angry at me right now, because you don't like something about me, rather than this passive aggressive outpour that I can sense out of your every pore that you're suppressing. Just give me the truth, and yet, and especially spiritual people do this. They go like, oh, love and light to you, blessings, babe, namaste, And this is so trapping. Like, honestly, how limiting is that? How inauthentic, how just ingenuine, and not really helpful even to the person you're hating. Just tell them what the problem you have with them, so maybe you at least have a chance of working with something real that you could possibly solve. Honestly, doesn't it feel so trapping to pretend to yourself? I think it does. And this is where dark femininity blew up, because women feel bloody fucking reasonably liberated by embracing the toxic side of the dark feminine. Because it's freeing to have a trend glorifying manipulation, glorifying teaching others how to play people to get a reaction you want from them. How to strategize, to influence, to get that guy to like you, to act out on your hurt and make a plan and be vengeful and scream and bring down the fucking chaos in a manipulative or in a direct way. Ah, yes, the power trip. There's also a number of strategies that are contradicting within the toxic dark feminine spectrum, such as unapologetically express and don't care who you hurt, or give a cold eye and don't show vulnerability. Don't give them the satisfaction. It'll hurt more. And do you notice something? All of these strategies are still focused on trying to get the reaction you want from the other person. It's not about you. It's not about your empowerment, as pain often isn't, feminine or not. Pain is about fairness, and you can play this game in a feminine way, which we have already been doing for generations, or a masculine way, which pretty much means be ready to get out into the battlefield and fight it out, or get raped. The point is that the entire strategy of toxic dark feminine side revolves around trying to curate yourself and your emotions to be perceived in a certain way. Oh my god, how low have we fallen that this is liberating to us? Or maybe never risen at all. And I do understand this so deeply because when we've been so hurt and so suppressed that hatred literally flows through our bloodline and is our generational trauma, to play people back feels empowering. To choose vengeance, to strategize, to be seen and recognized through destruction feels relieving. Take that revenge, to be that bad, unhinged, destructive, inconsiderate, only out for herself, fucking bitch feels fucking awesome. Trust me, as someone with intensely strong destructive sides, I've been there. I know. None are perfect, but I think that there is freedom that is even better than this. So let's find it together, shall we? And this freedom is what I call true dark feminine. Feminine energy and feminine expression is rawness, is vulnerability, is connection between seen and unseen. It's change. And this is where a lot of people misinterpret it by trying to imagine how it looks like. But feminine energy can look any way you goddamn please, as long as it feels wild, as long as it flows through your body, as long as you're not pent up, not suppressed, as long as you feel honest and connected to yourself, about yourself, as long as you feel safe to admit to yourself, speak or even shout your desires, and flow through life towards whatever you desire in whatever way lights your soul on fire. You can discover your own unique feeling of femininity. You don't have to, wear dark feminine makeup, or you can wear it if you feel like it. Or you can not wear any makeup at all and still embody the fuck out of your darkness. You can look, and be however you want. Well, I guess not considering the societal constraints, which love things being just one way, but that's exactly why we struggle with femininity. You can dress in dirty lumberjack clothes and go chop wood and tend to the fire and even go hunt and still be feminine. You can bring femininity and feeling into anything and everything. You can connect to the circle of life and death and recognize that you are both. Dirt and decaying flesh, blood are not unfeminine, and we've been led to believe that they are, based on hundreds of years of perpetuated beliefs of what is ladylike and unladylike by the patriarchal, Christian structure that themselves wanted to control death and birth. So I guess even for us women, it's hard to believe. What do you mean I can dress in punk or goth and still be shy at a club? It doesn't fit my image. Being a lady doesn't mean being feminine. It certainly can be if that is what you feel like your own unique feminine energy expresses itself as, but you can just wear hockeys and love adrenaline, as well as have moments where you are emotional and cry on the floor covered in snot. You can be angry and still understand another person. You can hate and say that you hate, show that you hate, and still have empathy for yourself and others, even your enemies. Do you see the amount of boxes and limitations that we have put ourselves in? It's insane. Makes me so frustrated. The way we are attached to being just one way. And once we see someone step out of this one line of thinking, one line of being, it's just everyone's triggered left and right. because someone dared to not fit the mold. And women are desperate for someone to handle them, you know? So we have to start by handling ourselves and not being afraid of our own power. And this power being the previously listed attributes. We have to understand that unlike the expertise of the masculine side, which is things being said and being one way, we are nothing like that. We are wild and we are changing and we are multiplicity of things at once. We are cycles. That's why we're better at multitasking. We pretty much castrated generations of men just purely by manipulation and without violence by our own hands. Now, if that's not a bloody achievement, I don't know what is. Now this is true dark feminine. And honestly, you know why they even call it dark feminine? Because there's still some negative association placed onto women for just fucking being raw, wild, and alive. And the fact that we call expression of our emotions and truths and needs and desires dark is very fucking sad. You're not dark or light until you choose to be in any moment, because that is what feminine power is. Universal human pain and needs and desires is not a dark thing. How about we just stop that and just call it raw and wild feminine, or just feminine, because ultimately that's the term that encompasses all sides. But somehow we arrive to the point where we consider feminine term mean more of a tradwife, submissive, soft, kind, and dark feminine more of a wild, assertive type of woman. No, you can be soft and still speak your boundaries. You can be a tradwife and still be completely fucking wild and crazy. They're not mutually exclusive. And is a thing. Both can be true. And so this is the other side of the dark feminine trend, is women who own their desires, their changing nature, who set boundaries, not as a strategy to get something or to make someone react, you know, who don't lie to themselves and don't manipulate themselves either, and who instead speak freely, feel their own fear, shame, and guilt that generations before them carried, and express emotions in safe containers and creative ways, you know, with intention and consideration, responsibility for others as well as for themselves. Women who don't try to be one way all the time and who put their foot down in wanting to see the world that is more welcoming of them, and not only repetition, routine, and rigidity, and wars, and violence, and fighting. Dark feminine is pretty similar to how the word masculinity is being used. It can be positive and it can be negative, but neither by themselves are bad. But mostly we have only seen the worst of it throughout history. Masculine energy, either toxic or not, and current unharmonized society seeks to place things into boxes to define, to structurize. But you can't define nature. You can only plant good seeds and nurture it. Here's the finished painting, very fitting to this theme of today. I enjoyed this very much. Remember that while you might be similar, you are unlike anyone else. So give yourself permission to own and be that. I love you so much. Thank you for listening. Stay unique. Bye bye.